I'm sharing 5 minutes at the end with Deputy Mike Neely-Ray. Much at all. The withdrawal of the United Kingdom from the European Union and Consequential Provisions Bill 2019. Count Cole, I'm happy to speak on this important bill here today. I acknowledge at the outset that this is a significant and complex piece of legislation, and I salute all those who have been committed to its drafting and preparation. Okay, Dulces. As the explanatory memorandum makes clear, the bill prioritises those issues that need to be addressed urgently and immediately through the primary legislation at national level. Many other issues continue to be addressed at a national level through secondary legislation, policy and economic responses on an administrative basis and through targeted Brexit release resources, as well as the EU at EU level. In respect of the certain legislative measures being dealt with the EU at the EU level, negotiations are ongoing, as we know, and unfortunately they seem to be negotiating down the cul-de-sac every day, and they find themselves of no way getting back out of it, and we'll have to make a new exit for them to find a way through, hopefully. In addition, a key part of Ireland's planning and preparations is protecting and maintaining the Common Travel Area, the CTA, and the associated rights and privileges. Both the Irish and British governments are committed to maintaining the CTA in all circumstances, and have committed to undertaking all work necessary, including through legislative provisions, to ensure that the CTA, the Common Travel Area rights and privileges, are protected. And that's a huge worry for any of us that have, business, our friends, our family, and just for tourists and everything else, that we protect that. I think people are just so concerned and so worried, and so much uncertainty. And uncertainty is the biggest issue for everyone, especially our farmers, our business people, our exporters, and our people in employment, and people, ordinary working people, they're just so concerned about the future. And also the housewives and the breadwinners at home, because of the every day we hear of possible increases, big increases in costs of commodities. And we're just so uncertain. I also want to acknowledge the existence of the Brexit loan scheme, which has, of course, been in place prior to the introduction of this legislation. I would be interested to know the number of applications made under the scheme since it opened for application on 28 March 2018. And Minister, you might get me those figures if you can. As the Minister for Agriculture acknowledged at the time, Brexit is obviously a significant challenge given our unique exposure to UK market, and we have very close ties with them, and Northern Ireland especially. We know and accept the fact that food businesses will need to focus on competitiveness and innovation in order to continue to grow in Irish agri-food exports, which reached a record 13.6 billion in 2017. Phenomenal, and we've done so much in our constituency to support them, and I salute the farmers, I salute the producers, and our many in Tipperary, right from Consequential right up to the bridge in Portrum, and many people, small and large. And the small ones I'm particularly concerned about because they can sustain. I'm concerned about big ones as well. They can't sustain any serious losses, any serious prolonged delays, the uncertainty about the ports and everything else. The Brexit loan scheme is supposed to ensure that at least 40% of the 300 million will be available to food businesses. That is to be welcomed. And Minister Creed needs to ensure that that's there. And we have to come forward with this omnibus legislation now and say this is going to be there. Not wait till we see how it impacts and wait and see. That's a kind of a very lethargic and a scary scenario for the producers, whether they be small farmers or whether they be business people and ordinary production workers. I would, however, just like to add that it may become necessary to extend the loan scheme or revise its terms of application in light of the fact that it will remain open until the 31st of March 2020. And it must be kept abreast of what's happening. On the broader political front, what do we want to avoid is a so-called disorderly Brexit, or indeed a no-deal Brexit. And Minister, I want to be constructive today, as my colleagues in the Rural Independent, but I have to be critical. I have to, first of all, give praise to Tánaiste, to Minister Coveney, for the many briefings and for long, arduous hours, and his understanding and his, being on top of his game. But your Taoiseach, unfortunately, has put one foot into the hole one day and 2 feet the next day, and he fell into the hole the third day, and he says whatever comes into his head that morning. And it's totally inept. It's totally outrageous. I was at a meeting myself with him, a briefing one evening in his office with the other political leaders. I was there representing now a rural independent group, and I asked him, how come, what about the hard border in Tyrone and in Monaghan and Auckland and in South Armagh, which I know very well. travelled across it thousands of times. And he just flippantly said, oh, the border could be in Bally or it could be in Rotterdam. It was just a careless remark. You know what I mean? He's that, someone should pinch him. This is real politics. This is not in front of the television just being nice and tell all the people we love you and I'm a great guy. High-fiving with his other colleagues, Minister, as Oliver Cannon so rightly portrays every weekend with Mr Murphy and Minister O'Donoghue. Minister Coveney's busting his backside literally, trying to do what he can here, and others, many others. But Jesus needs to get a reawakened here. I know he doesn't understand much outside the pale, but he needs to find out pretty fast what's going on. And you're a rural minister, I have good respect for you. You should be able to tell him and call him aside. Are you also admiring and endowed by him that you can't say anything to him? Is he like it would talk about the Brexit and the Fianna Fáil, confidence and supply? As I said, it's all confidence and all supply and no confidence. It's like a glass boulder minding that you have in your sitting room for the stations with daffodils this time of year. And you're afraid the children will knock it and break it. If this thing breaks, I know where Fianna Fáil are going to hide or what they're going to hide behind. They won't have nothing to hide behind, not even a daffodil they'll be all picked for the bowl. So that's what's going to happen. As I said, he needs to understand. This is real politics. This is real effect and impact on people's daily lives. And people are really concerned. And showboating and high-fiving and sound bites and silly speaks to say it. Nonsense. A child said you can't slap him anymore, but you'd reprimand him. You'd give him lines or put him into the bowl by corner. He needs to be put into some corner and kept out of life for the next couple of months. This is so delicate and so volatile and so serious. The risks that such a scenario of the no-deal Brexit represents to us here in this island are incredibly serious. According to the excellent briefing provided by the Parliamentary Budget Office, there are several main areas of concern, and I want to thank them for the briefings and the effort. And I believe most people are putting their shoulders to the wheel, but the captain of the team is letting down the whole scenario. He's not used to being captain, I know, maybe he never thought he'd get it. It was some dream he woke up from, but he is the captain now, and he needs to act like one and be serious. Indeed, according to the PBO, the size of the economic impact in 2019 is unknown. Economic forecasters estimated that the GDP growth will be 1.4 to 3 percentage points below what it would have been in an orderly Brexit. And that's going to have huge impacts for our budget and for our balance of books and for our everything else as well. While it's accepted that these estimates are highly uncertain and indicative, we know that it is going to hurt us economically speaking, and that the fiscal impact of a no-deal Brexit will be significant, possibly resulting in a budget deficit, as I've said, from decreased tax income and increased government expenditure necessitated by a no-deal Brexit. And we passed estimates, or revised estimates only here last week or the week before, already in this year, so this could have huge impacts. Northern Ireland, however, is just in the area of trade or finance that we should be concerned. I am speaking specifically about the challenges that are arising in respect of the border issue and the increase in the cross-border crime opportunities. We don't want to go back to the dark old days and the smuggling and the intimidation and the threats. And I was through that area when it wasn't safe to be going through back in the late 70s and early 80s. And I also think I asked Mr Barney and that chair sitting there beside you, Count Cola, when he was here, because I travel to Croatia once a year and I go on to Bosnia and Herzegovina, and there's a massive border has been built there in the last 10 years. It's unreal on the motorway, and you're delayed for anything from an hour, maybe 2 hours sometimes. And I asked him the question that day, and he just, this is the indifference that I got the answer. How is that going to be different if we have a Brexit with Northern Ireland? And he just kind of brushed it off. And so this is a big scary thing, because it's going to be the perimeter, and the perimeter in one country, I'm sure our European friends are going to be, the perimeter, same rules in any other perimeter, whether it's in Ireland or in the border of Croatia. Senator Mark Daly yesterday circulated a very disturbing piece of research conducted by UNESCO chairs, Professor Pat Dolan and Professor Mark Brennan. This was based on a recommendation of the report, Brexit and the Future of Ireland, United Ireland and its people in peace and prosperity, I quote, by the Joint Committee on the Implementation of the Good Friday Agreement. And they've done such huge work. And I want to salute all the people that brought forward that Good Friday Agreement. And of course, Nadine Ferdinand that gave the vote and supported it, such a high proportion at the time. The research found, and I quote, there will be a return to violence in Northern Ireland in the event of the installation of an infrastructure, custom checks and security on the Irish border as a result of no-deal Brexit. They only issue the scale of the violence. That is a harrowing and a perishing thought, and a very fearful thought. And this is from honest research. It's a terrifying scenario, and it's terrifying for the people that live there and that cross it maybe umpteen times a day. We've seen farmers having that straddle the border. I've been in the farms. We've seen just a barbed wire fence between north and south, same as the field in Kerry or in Tipperary or down in South Kilkenny where you are. So there's no physical bond, thankfully. It's all been removed. I know roads used to go 30 miles around to get to a town from Scottstown and Monaghan to South Tyrone to see somebody in a nursing home. Now you can drive 4 or 5 miles across the border, thankfully. But the roads were all blown up and cratered, and you had to do that around because you only had major roads kept open. Terrifying scenario. Health, in terms of health agreements, I note that Part 2, Section 4 covers that area, specifically in order to support the maintenance of existing common travel arrangements. Which gives the Minister for Health the power to make an order to enable necessary healthcare arrangements to be maintained between Ireland and the UK. This includes continuing existing arrangements in relation to health services, which are currently in operation between the state and the UK. For example, access to the health service in the UK for persons in the state, as well as access to health services in the state by persons from the UK and reimbursement arrangements. And my colleague behind me, Dr. Healy Ray, and his daughter, Danny, and Deputy Michael Collins, have about 25 busloads of people sent up to do basic things, Minister, that should be carried out here under the cross-border EU initiative. And that's going to be a disaster if that fails, and the buses are going up weekly and number of them a week to get basic treatments that you should get here. And the sad part about it is coming out of the health budget anyway. So you don't know whether you're coming or going before ever Brexit come in. You don't, and you're neglecting your people, or you hope they'll all go blind that they won't see what you're doing or getting on. But by God, they'll get some help. And there's braille now on the ballot papers, and they'll find you right. And they won't find you right, or they'll find the ones they want to vote for, and they'll make sure that they'll be missing a lot of E when it comes to it. As I said, we need to have those health issues sorted. And I and the members of the Rural Independent Group have seen, as I said up front, the absolute necessity of maintaining strength of things that, as the cross-border directives I've said. This is equally true, given we simply only able to get to grips with the health crisis we have here. As I said, I have blind people that were blind going up in these buses, not many myself, but the lads, my colleagues from Kerry and West Cork. And they're so delighted coming home. They can see the cattle in the fields, they can see the Mourne Mountains coming across the border, and they can see all those things, flags flying. Being neglected, simple, as I said, cattle-like operations. That we're sending volunteers out to the field hospitals in third world countries, carrying them out inside in tents by the dozen. And we can't do them here for people. It's so bureaucratic, and you're so uncaring about the ordinary people. But, Minister, I have to be critical as how late you left this, and how the way you were 6s and 7s. And this omnibus piece of legislation, because I fear with most legislation, we have the barristers rubbing their hands, the fat rubbing, I said, butter to a fact, sows, you know, here, and making money. See, the opportunities here in a bill without pre-legislative scrutiny. I was part of the committee that waived it, and the Controller, we waived it, but to have so many pieces of legislation into one, I can see they're having parties already, because there'll be challenges and there'll be flaws in the bill. One bill, and the mind to say an omnibus legislation which covers so many different areas here, and the High Courts will be busy, the fellows with the wigs, and they'll have great fun with this piece of legislation, if it has to be implemented, and I'm hoping that it won't have to be implemented, but I think that it's rushed. You should have been prepared this legislation with 12 months. You were just too gung-ho that Europe was going to stick with you, and they seem to be sticking with you fairly good, but remember the bank guarantee. Remember, I was forced to vote for it here, but I voted my own free will, but the worst thing I ever did. I remember the bailout you called it. I called it a clean out. That's what it was from our friends in Europe. So time will tell where they're going and what they're going to do, and how supportive they'll be. It looks good so far, and we have to do all the tough talk with our friends, and that's another area where the Taoiseach was very critical several times of our nearest neighbours. Not that I have any love for them over there, but I said they're our nearest neighbour trading partner. We have the Good Friday Agreement. I'm on the British Irish parliamentary body, and the Taoiseach's remarks several times about, and Minister Ross, but that's nothing new with him because he talks strange things anyway. I think he's been contaminated by Minister Halligan about Jupiter and Mars and seeing science fiction and everything else. He hadn't to go into his head and say anything. And but look, this is serious stuff. And I want to support this legislation, but warning that it should have started earlier, and its preparation should have, and I'm worried about the consequences of legal challenges and the fine-tooth comb being picking potholes or picking issues in this to go to the courts. Thank you, Deputy Healy.